Hello and welcome. My name is Amanda and today I have for you my October reading wrap-up. So for the month of October, I mostly focused on kind of spooky-ish classics. And I got a lot of listening time in, but not a lot of reading time. So I've got my bullet journal here with all of my stats. So just to start with audiobooks, like always, I am going to be looking down just because I'm referencing my bullet journal, but this will be a pretty quick wrap up. So the first book that I listened to in the month of October was Dracula by Bram Stoker. This was a 14-hour and 32-minute audiobook, and I gave it a 4-star rating. So this is a book that not a book, but a story that, pretty much everybody knows the story of Dracula in one variation or another, but it was really nice to actually read the story written from Bram Stoker's point of view, and just to see the original story and how people have adapted it over the years. It's gonna get a little loud because my puppy's just walked in. Oh, and there's my new puppy. Her name's Aoife. She's a stinker. Yeah, let me get her off me. Anyway, before I got attacked by my dogs, like I was saying about Dracula, it was just a really nice story to read. I thought not the adaptation of it, the original story was really good and really well written, and it's just really fun to see how people have adapted it over the years. The second book I listened to on audiobook was This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. This was a 10-hour and 9-minute book, and I also gave it a 4-star rating. I really enjoyed the main character in this, August, and he plays the violin, which I thought was really relatable and cool because I also play the violin. So he was definitely my favorite character to read from through this story. If I remember correctly, the chapters kind of bounce between the perspective of August and Kate, I think that was her name. Yeah. So we get usually like one chapter from August's point of view and another chapter from Kate's point of view, which I really liked. This is a book where monsters are bred out of human violence, and we just kind of learn about the monsters and how they're taking over the city and how the humans kind of fight back. So I really like this book. Like I said, I gave it a 4-star rating. The next book I read was Our Dark Duet, which is also by Victoria Schwab, and this is the second book in the, it's The Savage Song. It's got a different name, I think, for the duology, but it is a duology. This one was 10 hours and 32 minutes, and I gave it a 3-star rating. I didn't like it quite as much as The Savage Song, but I still did like it quite a bit. I enjoyed the narrator who read both of these books, and I just knew that I wouldn't have time to really finish them via physical format, so that's why I listened to them even though I own hard copies of both. Logic. That's not there. The next book that I finished on audiobook was Night Road by Kristen Hanna. This book was 14 hours and 47 minutes, and I gave it a 3-star rating. It's another book that's told from multiple perspectives. So we have a teenage girl that we follow named Lexi, and we also follow a mom named Jude. Lexi is in foster care and gets adopted by her, well, not really adopted, taken care of more or less by her aunt. And she comes into the life of Jude and her twin son and daughter and befriends them. And it's just kind of a story of growing up and going through things and how a big life event can really impact your relationship with people around you. I really enjoyed this book. It was based in Washington, and it was a made-up island that they were on called Pine Island, but I'm pretty sure it was Bainbridge Island, which is fairly close to me, so I've spent quite a bit of time on Bainbridge Island, so I knew what they were talking about, or what Kristen Hanna was talking about as she was writing the story, and talking about the view, living on the beach and being able to see Seattle and traveling by ferry over to Seattle, and then just basically like flipping backwards and seeing the Olympic Mountains. It was a lot of fun, and just really helped to set the atmosphere for it, which was one of the main reasons that I like this book so much. So that was a good one. It's also my second book that I've read by Kristen Hanna. About, I think 2 years ago, I read The Nightingale, which is right here, which is a story about two sisters during World War II. So I am definitely interested in picking up more of her books because she has a really great way of storytelling. And the second to last book that I listened to on audiobook was City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab. So I went from prior to October 2018 not reading a single Victoria Schwab or V.E. Schwab book to apparently reading 3 in 1 month. City of Ghosts is a middle grade book. It was a 5-hour and 2-minute audiobook, and I only gave it a 2-star rating. It was a cute story. And I didn't really have an issue with it being middle grade. I guess the main issue that I had is, okay, I guess I did have an issue with it being middle grade, but it was more just the explanation of things. It's based off, or not based off of, the story kind of centers around this girl. She's around like 12 or 13 years old, and her best friend is a ghost. She had a death experience, so technically she died, but she still lived. And because of that, she can reach to the other side of the veil. So she can kind of bridge the gap between the living and the dead. Her parents are authors. Her dad is more of a historian, and her mom likes to weave stories, so they write ghost stories. And they get an opportunity to film a TV series for their books. And it's just kind of following them around as they explore some of the most haunted cities around the world. So their first stop on this tour is Edinburgh in Scotland, and it was really nice because Victoria Schwab does live in Edinburgh. So just to have her writing and explaining a city that she knows and loves so well was really great. I went to Scotland last year and did visit Edinburgh on one of the days. So a lot of the things she was talking about I had actually seen, so I could visualize it as I was reading. But I guess my main issue, and I do understand why she did this, was just the over explanation of like Scottish culture and the words they say and how they're different from American English, and it was a little annoying and repetitive, but I know a lot of people don't know the culture, and especially those kids that do read middle grade books, even a lot of adults that appreciate middle grade books. Not necessarily everybody has visited Scotland. So basically not everybody reading this book is going to know Scottish culture and the different words they have versus us. But other than that, it was a good story. I would recommend it if you like kind of feel good, slightly spooky stories. It was a good one. So that's it. Almost it for books that I listened to this month. I partially listened to, partially read Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. I had started reading this, and then my library audiobook hold was up, and I had to finish this for a readathon. So I listened to a little bit of it while I was folding laundry and stuff. So the amount I listened to was 3 hours and 19 minutes, and I read 156 pages. This is my first Agatha Christie book that I've ever read, and I really enjoyed it. I did give it a 3-star rating. I thought it was a fun mystery. It wasn't too spooky, which I was a little scared of because I don't like to be scared. But the setting was great. It was set on a train. I love trains. I think there's something just so magical about them. And just basically, there's an inspector on the train, and a murder happens in the compartment next to him, and he has to figure out who the murderer was. So it was a great little mystery. I'm sure I'm sure a lot of people would have seen the ending and figured out who the murderer was. I didn't, but I don't read a lot of these books, so I did enjoy it. And I might look into more of the Hercule Poirot stories just to see what the rest of them are like. And the last book that I partially read, which is also my smallest book for the month, so there's really no excuse for me not finishing it, but that is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. I only got 66 pages in, and it's a total of 114 pages. I don't know, there was just something not pulling me towards this book. Instead of reading in bed at night, I would sit and watch YouTube videos. But I do plan to finish it in November. So far, it's interesting. This is another story that I've seen adapted multiple times. So it's interesting to read how it originated. I always picture Mr. Hyde as this, like, really deformed, half human, half monster sort of thing. But he's definitely more human in Robert Louis Stevenson's story. So I'm interested to see kind of how it ends, and just see more of the differences between the original story and the adaptations that I know. So in total, I listened to 58 hours and 21 minutes of audiobook, and I read a whopping 222 pages. And my total star rating for the month was 3.2 stars. I would say that I had a fairly good reading month. I know 3.2 stars doesn't sound that great, but I did have 2 4-star reads out of, 6 books that I finished. So overall, I think that's pretty good for me. I would love to know what you read, so if you feel so inclined, please do let me know down in the comments below, and I will chat with you there until my next video. Bye!